Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I am Sean Anderson, Most Valuable Podcast, and the upcoming segment is from our full Fast Break podcast that we recorded. And if you do want to check out that full podcast, head over to Blog Talk Radio/The Fast Break. You'll be able to find the full podcast over there.
This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is a Fast Break Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, as always, is Ricky Widmer.
What's up, guys?
And Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
And we're talking about some big news here. The biggest news in our lead story is going to be Kristaps Porzingis. Ian Begley of the ESPN, he did not get laid off. Reported that several teams were calling the Knicks about Kristaps Porzingis.
I think this may be even bigger than the Kevin Durant story last year. I think maybe even bigger than that,
no.
Sean.
Definitely not bigger than that. We're also going to be talking about the Celtics and their relationship with the Cavs. If they can beat the Cavs, they haven't even gotten past the Wizards, but hey, fuck it. And then we're also going to be talking about the underrated prospects in the NBA draft. We're going to be talking about the most underrated. We already did overrated, so we're going to put a little positive spin on it.
I just love the, but hey, fuck it.
We're going to be talking about the most underrated prospects. So let's jump into the Kristaps news. Obviously huge. Again, Ian Begley did not get laid off. He reported Kristaps Porzingis skipped meeting, led multiple teams to call the Knicks about reaching out, and the title of this segment is Should the Knicks Trade Kristaps Porzingis?
At this point, no. And the reason why is who's in the driver's seat right now? It's the New York Knicks.
Oh.
And it's one of those things where Porzingis, it's one of those things where Porzingis can do whatever he wants right now. The fact is, you're a Knick. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things you could want to trade, and it's should the Knicks eventually maybe look to trade him? Yeah, but it's one of those things of unless the offer is really going to blow me away, nope, you're on my team. You're on my team until at least the 2019-20 season when you're a restricted free agent.
I mean, yeah, I understand the whole problem of the player doesn't really have a choice in the matter, but again, are we really going to spurn, what could be a cornerstone player just after finishing his second year with your team? Because, fuck him, why not? He doesn't have a choice. That's awful. I think that they clearly need to bridge this gap. There is a problem in the organization that started between Phil and Carmelo. It's not been handled well publicly, and Kristaps is just like, I want nothing to do with this entire situation. Going home. I'm not doing the exit interviews. I'm not doing any of this. Don't even try talking to me for a couple months. Well,
that's something we mentioned, I think it was the Carmelo segment, was that Kristaps is the biggest thing that coming out of this. I didn't care about the Kristaps the Carmelo Phil thing. I cared about the Kristaps thing, and obviously this is coming to fruition now. He skipped the meeting. Now teams are interested because obviously he doesn't want to play there. And I agree with Ricky, and I also agree with you. I mean, you shouldn't be spurning your players, and you should be reaching out. But then again, Kristaps doesn't have a choice. They have a long time to reach out. Right. What would you say, 2019, 2020 here?
Yeah, they got the club option for 2018, 2019, and then he's a restricted free agent in 2019, 2020.
It's the New York Knicks, so it's not like they can't match any offer. They'll probably match any offer, so he's still going to be locked up for, 4 years? I mean, 4 years, I think, for a restricted free agent is the contract you can throw out. So then 4 more years. I mean, they have time to bridge that gap, and I think that's what Ricky's saying, and I don't think right now is the right time for them to even think about a trade.
Knee-jerk reaction.
I think it's a completely knee-jerk reaction, but it's more of the teams reaching out, not the Knicks.
The thing that even, and this is one of the things where Kristaps is just in the biggest shit situation is, no, I'm not going to trade you because your contract comes up 2019, you're a restricted free agent. Guess who's off the books no matter what? Carmelo. So, okay.
Unless they re-sign Carmelo.
They're not gonna.
They could.
But it's one of those, it's just,
logic doesn't really play out there.
Why would I trade you now when I can work, you got to work to mend this relationship, but I'm not going to knee-jerk reaction trade you right now when I can work on getting you back onto the good side, and it's really all the Knicks have control. Unless there's an offer that blows you away and you're like, fuck it, let's do this because he's not happy and we're not going to repair it. then that's when you go with a trade.
I think, if you're going to get a king's ransom, then you obviously have to accept that.
Yeah.
But I think this is the reason why I want to name the title. Should they think about trading Kristaps Porzingis? Because should they trade him? Hell no. He's 21 years old. He's coming off a sophomore year, which people said it was a slump. I mean, he improved pretty much every single stat on a terrible team. I mean, he upped his field goal percentage. He upped his minutes. He upped his three-point percentage. He upped his points. I mean, it wasn't like he was the reason the Knicks were terrible. They didn't have a correct ball handle out there.
Right.
Carmelo wasn't really playing up to his full potential. I mean, it was something where he still improved as a player. He still looked like the great player that he was last year. I think there was just less of a focus on it because you saw the emergence of Joel Embiid that was completely polarizing. Jokic was completely polarizing. I mean, obviously KD and the Warriors. I mean, there was bigger stories out there.
To grow, the triple-double mania.
And he wasn't even the biggest story on his team.
Exactly. There was so much drama around that team that even in New York, he was a sideshow. It was just like, you're over here. Good for you, Gold Star. You're doing your job out there, and we don't have to worry about you. I think that, I feel like he kind of feels hurt by that.
I think he
hasn't really embraced him as their guy yet.
I don't know if they haven't embraced him. I think it was just there was more drama that is surrounded them. I think that Phil has made people pick a side, whether Phil or Carmelo, and maybe that's why he might not feel that. But I think it's more of an organizational problem here. I think it's obviously the same organizational problem that we've talked about is that Phil and Carmelo are fighting with each other, and Kristaps is like, well, I don't want this to happen. I don't want to be I don't want to be in this toxic environment where Carmelo's not going to leave, not going to waive no trade clause, and Phil's going to keep calling him out. And then what if I start to slip up? Is Phil going to call me out? I mean, I don't even trust what he's doing, and there's no conversation because Dolan is running this team like a nightmare and has been since he's taken over this team. So the thing I look at this is, should they? Hell no. They should not be trading Kristaps Porzingis. Take time, work it out. But I think the biggest thing now that we have to talk about is more, if it happens, what would it take to get a player like Kristaps Porzingis? Because, again, 21 years old.
Couple firsts.
21 years old, 18 points a game, 7'3", guy that can shoot from pretty much anywhere, decent driver, good shot blocker. I mean, what would it truly take to get a guy like Kristaps?
Dario and a 1.
Really? That's it?
Not even.
Dario and 2 1s.
I look at, if I'm the Knicks, if I look at this is what
I just want to see Porzingis and Embiid and Embiid play next to each other,
and Simmons.
And Ben Simmons.
That's wingspan right there.
That's a 3-4-5.
That beats the Bucks combined. But
the trade you can use as kind of a barometer is the Celtics and the Nets, and that was a horrible trade for the Nets.
Well, I don't even think you
can.
But
it's one of those things where the players that they were trading were so much older than Porzingis.
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
If you're not getting at least 2 firsts, maybe even a third
I
on
think
that.
The only one that I think the best comparable one is Michael Carter-Williams' initial trade when he was coming off of that Rookie of the Year season, because you have a young player who put up ridiculous stats. I think that what they got for that, which, I mean, there were multiple trades to finish it out, so it's hard to do the exact asset-wise, but I just feel like I'm trying to think of another player who so young in his career was traded after such a promising start.
That's what I want to mention is, you bring up the Nets Celtics one, but I mean, that was KG, Paul Pierce aging, and they didn't have the control Kristaps had. I mean, he's 21 years old, and like you said, he's locked up until 2019, 2020, and then even after that, he's going to be a restricted free agent, and the team that is going to be on him will be at least have a chance to offer him a 5-year max contract, which with the CBA, we're even seeing grow higher and higher, and then even then, if a team reaches out, they can match that offer. So that's something where I just see the value, and it's through the roof right here. I mean, even the Michael Carter-Williams thing, I mean, that's still kind of iffy. I mean, because you don't see the unicorn-esque powers that Kristaps had, like you had in Michael Carter-Williams.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Carter-Williams got the benefit of the doubt because he got to stuff a stat line on a terrible team, and his numbers that rookie year, I mean, come on, you watched him play. If you watched him play every game, you kind of knew it was a lie, but that didn't matter because he was the only thing to watch out there. So, Ricky, what did they actually get for him?
Well, it was a 3-team trade. Michael Carter-Williams went to the Bucks, Tyler Ennis, and Plumlee. Brandon Knight to the Suns, and then the Sixers got the Los Angeles Laker first-round pick. And that was from the Suns. It was top 5 protected.
Top 5 protected. So that's the thing is when we're looking at that. I mean, Carter-Williams wasn't even. He was the 3 pieces there going to Milwaukee. They just had to give up Brandon Knight there. So Brandon Knight was pretty much the big. I mean, obviously Michael Carter-Williams, like you said.
Yeah. I just can't think of anyone else who was traded so early in his career.
That's the thing.
Promise.
I mean, you really don't see that. So that's what it's tough to gauge value. And one thing I want to mention is the 2 guys that we constantly hear in trade rumors, Paul George, Jimmy Butler, Would it be that? I mean, would you look at Jimmy Butler and Paul George being the cornerstone, and then which team would have to give up more? Would it have to be the Knicks, or would it have to be the Bulls or Pacers in this situation? Would the Pacers have to give up more because of Kristaps being young?
It's kind of a cool question because when you talk about guys like Jimmy and Paul George, those are guys who are established in their prime and are at the top of their game.
Mm-hmm. Like don't have the same control, but yeah.
Yeah, you don't have the same control over their contracts and over their future, but at the same time, you're getting a finished product that is a top 10 player in the NBA right now versus Porzingis, who is probably more in the 30 to 50 range. I don't know. I'm just ballparking
top player wise?
Yeah. Ballparking it somewhere around there. But same
top
time,
70 for sure.
He's got a chance to grow into, a top 15 player, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't be unquestionable. So I think it's more of what teams are looking. It will decide on what the value is, because you're going to see teams who are looking for, a major piece as they continue to build versus teams who are looking for that piece to put them over the top. And that's why I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers were one of these teams. I'm sure Magic Johnson was calling them up. I mean, so if my pick rolls through, what are we talking here?
The We Agree podcast. I was just about to bring up the Lakers because I was thinking of a team that needs to rebuild. And you look at the Lakers here. Obviously, you got D'Angelo Russell, you have Jordan Clarkson, you have Brandon Ingram, you have all these players. But then I look at this, and you have the third pick right now, which right now you and I slated Ball, you slated Fultz last week on the mock draft. When we look at that. Then maybe you don't need the guards. Maybe you need a piece like a Porzingis. So maybe they look into trading future first round picks, and then a guy like D'Angelo Russell or Clarkson or both or something like that.
Think it would.
And you give them king's ransom of young players, and then a shitload of first rounders, and then think of a lineup like this: Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Kristaps Porzingis. That sounds pretty nice.
You can't give up. They'll want the first this year. I mean, as long as the Lakers get it this year, it's going to go.
But then I feel like the Lakers wouldn't give up that first rounder and not get that seventh then, because the Knicks pick as well. Because I look at this, I don't think the Lakers want to give up that first overall pick. I think they're more inclined to give up a guy like D'Angelo Russell and then a boatload of picks down the line.
I wouldn't be surprised if both Russell and I know. Who's the other power forward who you're so high on, who I just shit all over? Julius Randle. I could see a package with them two plus future picks being something that might tantalize the Knicks.
Because I feel like when we're talking about picks, I feel like that might be, I think maybe Brandon Ingram. I would say even.
I want to see him develop.
What I'm saying is I think that out of all of the Lakers' asset, I think that third pick. Whatever currently slotted at the third pick is the most protected asset of the Lakers right now. So I feel like that's not going anywhere. That's why I feel like they're not going to trade that. So that's why I look at Ingram's a possibility of going, Russell's a possibility of going, Clarkson's a possibility of going. I'm just looking at the young assets that most teams have, and that's probably the one that I'm thinking of. It's going to take a couple
to move over.
Do you think it's a team that has a young team, or do you think it's a team more with a guy like Jimmy Butler or Paul George? And I'll ask Ricky because he hasn't talked about it.
Well, and I mean, I look at, and you guys talk about the Lakers, I wouldn't make that trade if I'm LA, because I feel like what's going to happen is if LA makes that deal, I would probably feel like, hey, I am mortgaging my future on Kristaps Porzingis.
Because they passed on Porzingis.
Yeah, they did.
They could have had him.
You're going to give up I feel like if this deal happens now, you have to give up a ton of picks, and it's either 2 first rounds or maybe 1, but you're giving up a ton of young players, or you're giving up a few young players, but you're giving up a ton of first-round draft picks. And that's where the boom and bust is here, where I'm sitting here not even thinking what teams would trade out, because if I'm the Knicks, I'm saying, you know what, I'm going to hang on to Kristaps because I don't have to trade him. The teams
sure. We're not saying
teams like Jimmy, like the Bulls and the Pacers, I feel like they don't have enough. If you came up to me and said, "Oh yeah, we'll give you Jimmy Butler or Paul George, and then these picks," I'd be like, nah, I'm good because I can control the guy I've got.
We're not talking
longer.
about them trading straight up Butler for Porzingis.
Well,
we're saying
there'd be picks and other things
but the thing
in
is,
there.
But then again, they're getting rid of their best player, and then would Porzingis be able to carry them to to the playoffs and keep it out of the lottery?
See, and this is something that I'm going to bring up on the Porzingis side is I kind of don't like the whole, hey, I'm just, fuck you guys, I'm not doing the whole exit meeting thing, because I think there's a better way for Porzingis to go through this. I think just saying, you know what, fuck off, I'm leaving, I'm not going to do this.
But they've also given the cold shoulder. The Knicks have been a terribly run franchise.
Let's be frank. The whole situation's fucked up in New York. I kind of feel like both sides are at fault, and it's one of those things where I don't think a deal does get done. I think that there's teams are going to feel like I have to mortgage my future just to get a deal done because that's the only way the Knicks would even make the deal.
The two teams that have come to mind when thinking of this are the Lakers and Suns, and I don't think they're mortgaging their future per se because they wouldn't trade their pick this year. And then if you look at a team like the Suns, you would have Porzingis, who would take over for Chris and possibly Bender if you're trading both of those guys. He plays the power forward. You have Devin Booker. And then if you add a guy like Josh Jackson or one of the guards and
So you're saying the Lakers wouldn't trade their first pick this year?
No, I'm saying the first pick outside of the Suns and Devin Booker, I would say those are the most protected assets because of how deep this draft and the star potential of them. Okay. So I would say they're more inclined to trading the guys that they just drafted last year over the current pick because younger, more control, and possibly just better because you look at all these players.
But if I'm the Knicks, that's what they want.
Yeah, no, of course. But what I'm saying is, I don't think this trade happens at all. Because I don't think New York wants to trade them.
Who has the assets to do it, and where does it make sense?
This is just fantasy fucking around.
I don't think anyone has.
This is some 2K fun.
I don't think anyone has truly enough. I think the asking price will be so much. I think for me the asking price would be too much.
That's what we're saying is we don't even know what the value is. We can't even because there's no past deals like this. I mean, the control he has, the potential he has of being 7'3", being able to drive to the rim, being a great defender, outside shooter, obviously. I mean, there's so many intangibles. It's just
a super well-rounded game for someone with his body, his stature, his wingspan, and his age.
I mean,
that's why when we were joking around about the whole for the Lakers, you passed up on Porzingis to go with D'Angelo Russell. And it's like, would you trade straight up right now? Both. I mean, the Knicks would just laugh you out of the building.
Well, I wouldn't say straight up. No one's going to trade.
That's what I'm saying.
D'Angelo Russell for
and that's
Porzingis.
what I'm saying is what the Knicks went for was someone who had potential to be amazing, but was a relative unknown. Versus what the Lakers went for was someone who has the chance to be a superstar, but also has the lowest floor. And that was kind of like the theory at the draft time. And it's kind of fun to think about how now we're talking about if there was a way to get it done. It would have to be so heavily weighted on the Lakers side to give up so much for a guy that
went 2 spots below. Yeah. I think usually when we see these trades like this, it's draft day or day after the draft. I mean, the Kevin Love, OJ Mayo flip comes to mind, but then again, you look at that. I mean, those are 2 guys that we didn't know where their careers would take. Obviously, the Kevin Love side was completely.
But then you could get Wiggins for Love, though.
Yeah, well, but I'm just saying, looking back, Kevin Love was already established.
I know. What I'm saying is Wiggins was the.
But they wanted an established player. They wanted a young player. That's an easy flip there. We don't have that easy flip because we don't know.
What if the Knicks want an established player? What if we're going bet savvy again? We're going to be the best team in 2013 this time.
What if they package Kristaps and Carmelo
instead of 2009?
All right, Ricky, let's round this up. Kristaps is going to be traded in the future, not even tomorrow.
I say
2 years down the line.
If he gets traded, it's not until the 2018-2019 season, that last year before the restricted free agency comes up.
Dave?
Yeah, I've got to feel like this unrest in New York is going to continue until a boiling point. Something's going to break.
Melo's the guy you move.
Even if you move Melo, I just feel like between Dolan and Phil, that is not a relationship that you can build a stable core around. And I think unless one of those go, I think Porzingis is at the end of his career done. He's going to be out of New York.
You're bad when you got a Bulls fan going, at least we're not that.
Yeah. Kristaps, hope you enjoy Central Park because you're going to be staying there for a while. Thank you. Oh, shit. It's just one of our videos scared me a little bit. Don't forget to check out that one. And also don't forget to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. But thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.